do you see all this hair? I have a lot of hair, okay? It touches all the way down to my butt. It is a lot of hair to deal with on a normal day, and it is definitely a lot of hair to deal with on my wedding day. And yes, you heard that right. I did my own hair on my wedding day. Do you think I regretted it? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Hello, and welcome to the channel if you're new here, or welcome back if you're not. My name is Kayla, and I am the owner and lead wedding planner here at Transformed Events, where we help DIY couples to ball out on a budget. So today we are jumping into the million-dollar question: can and should you DIY your own hair and makeup on your wedding day? I hear the sentiment from a lot of couples, and it's a great question that comes up with a ton of nuances, and my answer largely depends on the type of wedding that you're having, aka kind of the vibes that you're going for, as well as a huge part on your personality, as with many other decisions that come along in this wedding planning journey. So let's start first with hair, because I have a lot to say about this part, specifically because, as you just heard at the beginning of the video, I did my own hair on my wedding day. Now, I asked if you think I regretted it. Go ahead and pause this video if you didn't answer that question and drop your guess in the comments below. Now, let's get a drum roll going, okay? Did I regret doing my own hair on my wedding day? Absolutely not. Something that was incredibly important to me in my wedding planning journey and on the actual day is that I felt and looked like my everyday self. To some, it may sound a little bit counterintuitive, but when I thought about looking back at the photos, I wanted to look like me, right? Not some glamorized one day better version that I didn't even recognize. So the decision to do my own hair was based on that, not really on the financial aspect of hiring a hairstylist. I also, as you can see, have a ton of hair that goes all the way down my back, like I said, and I did not want to straighten it. I wanted to keep my natural curls, which also added another layer of complexity to finding someone who was comfortable enough working with my hair in that state. So the way I felt like I was going to get the results that I desired was to just do it myself. Now, that does not mean that there weren't any complications in that process either. I had to do a lot of pre-planning, even though it was my own hair and I knew how I wanted it, because wedding days are already very long. There's already so much going on that I did not want that to be another barrier in the day. I also had a much more casual wedding, so I wasn't really pressed on looking like a super specific certain way. And this is really what I meant by the type of wedding and the vibes you're going for. So, for example, if you're having a barn or a backyard wedding, a couple of flyaways is going to be generally okay, because those are more relaxed and casual environments. Versus if you're having like a big ballroom bash where everything needs to be ironed and polished to a T. You kind of see the difference there. So for my makeup, however, I absolutely positively, without a doubt, knew that I needed a professional makeup artist. I have no idea how to do makeup. I suck at doing makeup. I personally don't even really enjoy wearing makeup, and my husband doesn't really like makeup either, but I knew that I definitely wanted to wear it because, number one, it looks better in photos, and I still wanted a small sense of kind of an elevated feel because it was my wedding day after all, right? So I wanted to feel like myself, but not just like 100% normal day either, if that makes any sense at all. So enough about me, and let's go ahead into answering, is this a good decision for you? Why or why not? And some practical tips if you do decide to go that route with either hair or makeup. So first, let's get the elephant out of the room by starting with who is this not for? Because this is a really important question, and you should really be sure if you do go this route. So you should not go this route if you're someone who becomes easily worried or stressed out. The absolute last thing that we want for you is to feel too much pressure and to freeze up or to have a breakdown or any of the wild range of emotions that you will be experiencing on that day. If you have even an inkling that doing either your hair or makeup or both will cause that, I would just go ahead and chuck the idea far away, out the window, don't even look back. Wedding days are already a lot with all of the emotions going on. Like I said, there's so many people around you. There's so many people asking you things, the general considerations of how the day will go, and you just do not need to add on another unnecessary layer of stress on top of everything else. This route is also not recommended for people who are very particular or meticulous about a specific look. So what I mean by that is if you if things don't turn out exactly how you want them to look, right? And you need to adjust on the fly, you maybe need to go with the flow. Can you handle that, or will that cause like a full-blown meltdown? If you're flexible, that is wonderful. But if all the I's need to be perfectly dotted and all the T's perfectly crossed in order for you to be satisfied, I would just go ahead and seek professional services instead of trying to DIY it. And then finally, this should be a bit of common sense, but I like covering all my bases. If you typically don't do anything to your hair on a regular basis, and if you're like me, you typically don't wear makeup or don't do your makeup, your wedding is probably not the best time to try to start those things. You need to base this decision off of your current skills and where you are now, not where you hope to be in the next few months. Because if you can't do the style or the look that you want at this very moment in time, you should not try to put that pressure on yourself to learn it in time to do it for the wedding. Because again, you don't want to keep adding on layers on top of layers and overcommitting yourself and then end up stressed out at the end of the day. The additional money that you have to spend, and this goes for anything in this wedding planning process, the additional money that you'd have to spend is never worth the stress in both my professional and personal opinion. So if the options are between spending more money and being stressed, spending more money is going to be worth it 10 times out of 10. So now, after all of that, you're still like, yep, I got this, I can handle it. Let's go ahead and get into some practical tips on how to make this successful. So first things first, you absolutely need to test this out multiple times for both hair and makeup. And if you are going to be DIYing both, you need to test those out on the same day multiple times to mimic what the actual wedding day is going to be like. I would absolutely start these tests about 7 or 8 months out so that you still have enough time to book someone if things don't work out the way that you want them to. You should try different hairstyles, test out different products to use, how they turn out differently, try different makeup shades, and you also want to consider what might potentially change from now to that day. So maybe you're pregnant, for example, or you get pregnant in the process. Consider how your facial structure might change and how that might differ with your makeup look, because you're growing a small human, or maybe it's winter right now and you're getting married in the summer. So consider what type of tan you might have at that time, right? You want to try to think ahead as much as possible so that you can be prepared. You're also going to want to time how much it takes you to complete both of these from start to finish so that you can plan for that in your wedding day timeline. And you always, always, always want to build in buffer room. On the exact day, I promise you, on the exact day that you don't have extra time is the exact day that you will need that extra time. And if you don't need it, that's okay too. You just have more time to rest and relax before the big ceremony, right? But you generally want to build in more time than you will need because it just is beneficial, right? You always want to have those contingency plans. And then next, you also want to go ahead and trial a long and very sweaty day and how well both the hair and makeup hold up in different types of weather and when you're moving around a lot, right? You can try dancing around in your house for at least 15 minutes to see how that affects either one. As much as you can mimic the actual conditions of your wedding day physically, the better chances that you'll have of being successful in this process, because then you can tweak things along the way to make sure, you have enough bobby pins in your hair, you have enough hairspray, you have the right setting spray, all those kind of things. And then finally, you also want to have backup options in case that you need them. So maybe you have a close friend who's really good at doing makeup, right? See if they'd be willing to step in and help if you're feeling too overwhelmed the day of the wedding. Or maybe you have a wig on standby that you can pop on real quick if your hair doesn't turn out right. Contingency planning is so necessary so that backup plans are already in place if you need them. And I also really want you to know that you can back out and change your mind at any time. That's why I advocate to start this process early, because a lot of people realize that it's just too much for them and they can't take it on. And that is okay. You're not a failure. You are just human and you can't do everything all the time. So if you're feeling overwhelmed at any time, please don't be afraid to ask for help. The DIY route is not for everyone, so please give yourself some extra grace during this time, and most importantly, be flexible with your plans. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. Please go ahead and like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and share with a friend who is trying to save some money in their wedding planning journey. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!